We're diving straight into this all-American Chess Blitz classic here, and whilst I introduce the game, I'll let you enjoy the top comment on the Chess Based India video that they posted on this game. I'm not saying I agree with the comment, but it is a hilarious one, right? So with the white pieces is the world number 2, Fabiano Caruana. With black, we've got the infamous Hans Niemann, young, brash, looking to take down the world, and this is a classic encounter as said. Start steady with this Berlin defense after a Ruy Lopez bishop b5, knight f6 signifies the start of that defense, but then it escalates and explodes into a great battle. Now d3 played by Fabi, not going for the end game with the queens off the board. This keeps more tension. We get bishop c5 and now bishop takes on c6. At first, a move I kind of struggled to understand when I was looking at these games in years gone by, but the point seems to be you shatter the pawn structure in compensation for giving the bishop pair, and the position's now closed, which favours the knights. And you've got the fluidity of pawns in the centre, no d5 break for black. So Fabi keeps an advantage, goes knight c3, not taking here by the way, or queen d4, an oldie but a goldie, double attack, can't deal with both. So he just carries on defending, and now queen e7 from Hans, not yet committing the king, defending this e5 pawn in a more conventional manner. Bishop e3 now played, challenging this bishop pair here, and sometimes you see the bishop drop back to d6 just to retain that asset for black. But here we get knight d7, Hans happy to part ways, Fabi doesn't rush it, activates the queen, and now a typical move for black, pawn to a5, a real kind of modern looking move. Watch how Hans runs that one down the board now. Both players castle, knight e2 played, freeing these pawns to release maybe one day. We get bishop takes on e3 now, the queen recaptures, rook e8 activating that cannon, and after knight to d2, Fabi is clearing the way for a very direct attack. a4 from Hans, he's not concerned, carries on doing his thing over there. We get f4, pawn captures, rook takes, and now a3. Niemann has ploughed that pawn all the way down the board, Alpha Zero-esque. If you don't get that reference, Google DeepMind. They developed this computer program called Alpha Zero, AI technology, a few years back, and it really changed the game of chess. Showed these new ideas, such as pushing a rook's pawn, quite early in the game. So b3 provoked, Fabi plays it, weakens some dark squares, and now this is a great positional move from Hans. Pawn to c5. What's the idea? Well, after Fabi doubles the rooks on the f-file, now you can go knight e5, using that great square, defending f7, excuse me, sorry, but the pawn has covered d4, so you can't kick away that knight. So Fabi now goes h3, covering any future knight g4 jumps, and soon we're going to see another point of this push here, because after bishop e6, excellent bishop, rock solidly defending the king, we get this rook dropping back, preparing knight f4 to lop off this annoying bishop, and knight c6 from Hans. This is the other thing that c5 cleared the way for. This knight's on a great circuit. Always think about your knight circuits when you pick up that piece. Now after knight f3 from Fabi, little bit hesitant, covering d4 here. He could have started with immediate knight f4. Hans goes h6, also keeping an eye on a knight jump, and now knight f4 finally comes. That bishop about to drop, so rook a d8 from Hans, looking for some central counterplay. We get knight takes and pawn takes, an important move. Yes, it shatters the structure, ugly, but the queen stays with c5, you don't want to let that one drop. So knight d2 now coming back. Fabi lost a bit of time there with the knight f3 back thing, but okay, he retains a small advantage here after b5 and e5. Now that the knight can't come here, well, he's looking to activate in this direction. So rook f8 from hands, challenging the only open file, and knight e4. Good activation of that steed. And if this knight captures the pawn, well, then white takes here, and this transaction favours the white player. You're opening the queen in a nasty way here. e6 under fire, it's just better. That one's not got any good forward jumps. So the pawn not touched. We get takes on f2. Rook recaptures and knight b4. Hands is stirring up counterplay here. This one is pressured. That's why Fabi doesn't take this pawn here. You don't want to let that one drop. Get the a pawn running. So knight c3 drops back, defending, does pressure here. Whether Fabi would have taken, who knows, but c6 covers regardless. And now Fabi goes for queen c1, hits a3. You know, these advanced pawns can become weak, but after the queen covers, Fabi now bounces back, looking for play around the king. However, has this helped Fabi? Well, I don't know, because Niemann now comes up with truly a fantastic move, explodes the game. And just before I show you that one, if you're enjoying this video, do hit like, really helps me out, and consider subscribing if you too want to become the world #2 like Fabiano Caruana. You never know, watching Epic Chess could help you out. But don't hit the notification bell. Contrary to what other people say on YouTube, don't let YouTube or social media rule your life. Leave that notification off. Watch YouTube on your time. There you go. Bit of advice there. Now we get to c4. So this is the brilliant move. Opening the queen, x-raying that king, and now pinning this rook to the king as well. And it's a pawn sacrifice. Fabi takes, Niemann doesn't recapture, he plays the top move here. Can you find it? He uses the knight and he crashes through into Fabi's position with the excellent knight takes on c2. So Fabi goes king h2, breaking the pin, and now there's a great move here which Hans misses. If anyone can spot this, you're doing well, and that's a bit of a clue. So the great move to play here is knight e1. Anyone? Kind of chess notation joke there, right? Pretty lame dad joke, but that was the best one, because now you're coming after the d3 pawn and then you'd be forking these two, etc. Good move. But okay, Hans goes knight d4. He misses that one. This is more natural. They're down to seconds at this point, as you can see by the clock times on the left. And now pawn takes was played. Here Hans recaptures, and after knight e4, very natural, looking for play against the king, Hans goes b4. And it's a fascinating position. If you cut the board in half here, all the white pieces are on the king side, all the black on the queen side. So this is where both players are then looking to play. And it's a good general rule. If you don't know where to play with your pieces and come up with a plan, we'll look at where they're generally pointing and try and play there. So queen g3 now played, looking for some tricky stuff with knight f6 check, pinning this pawn. So we get knight f5 played, hits the queen, covers the king, great outpost, and opens this rook now. Queen g6 pressuring e6, and now you should cover with queen e7, but queen f7 is played, and it's a blunder. There is a way to take advantage here tactically, but Fabi misses it. If you simply take, king recaptures, well then there's g4. The knight is pinned, you're picking it up. This is basic Betty tactics, right? But it wasn't spotted by either player. Now the queen drops back to g4, and here Niemann has a big advantage if he finds the right combination. And you can start with b3. Or queen c7, eyeballing this pawn, preparing to invade down the c-file, plus the rooks on here. There's a big initiative, but after king h8, it doesn't quite seize the moment, because yes, you walk away from this stuff here, checking, using the pin, but it allows Fabi time to go knight d6, shutting that d-file, pressuring the knight and the queen. You can't take like you'd want to do because of this pin. Now there was a great response here with queen a7, counter attack on the rook, but it was missed. Queen d7 played, and now Fabi gets to chop. The pawn recaptures, and we don't see takes on f5, but takes on b4. This is the best move because you get rid of that really dangerous endgame asset. So queen takes on d3 plate. Rook f3 now from Fabi. Queen d5, double attack, great move. Rook e3, Fabi looking to cover that pawn before collecting here. We get captures, rook captures, queen e2, and after queen e7 from Fabi, here hands goes disastrously wrong. But there were mitigating circumstances because rumour has it the chef was already preparing lunch, a particularly pungent fish dish. The scent of that wafts into the room through the air vents, down into the playing area, up Hans's nostrils, and he has a complete brain fart. Fog in the air quality's dropped, he lifts his rook up the board. Excuse me. He had to stay on the back rank here, keep that king protected, because now Fabi checks, king h7, check from here, and we see resignation. Why? Well, if you step back with the king to either square, then the rook slams down, closes the trap, that's a checkmate, and coming back here, if you go g6, same problems, you simply get mated on the back rank. Brutal finish there from what should have been a level position. Coming back here after queen e7, this should technically be a draw, although white in the driving seat. Great clash there from these two players. These were the results of the tournament, and if you want to see another epic game of chess, check out the video on screen, and I hope to see you again soon.